All right, everyone. Welcome to the Golf Unfiltered podcast. Happy Monday. Happy, Victory Monday. Shout out to our friends over at the Shotgun Start. If you're a fan of Bryson DeChambeau, obviously the U.S. Open took place yesterday. Bryson captures his second U.S. Open trophy in spectacular fashion, and we're here to talk all about it. You see Nikki Dunnigan, you see Dan Hauser, you see Trevor Reese. Hi, guys. Is everyone? How is everyone?
Exactly.
Yeah. Good talking.
If that's not the most Monday of sentences ever, how is everybody?
How is everybody?
Hey, it's summer break. I'm ready.
Yeah, absolutely. It is hot where I'm at as well, and I know it's probably warm by all of you also. Dan, you're hanging in tough. The Panthers doing the gentleman's sweep, perhaps giving up one game.
Yeah. It's still only Monday. We still have another 36 hours again. So I'm already miserable. Yesterday was a little bit of a distraction with the golf all day long, but now I have nothing to do but sit and think about 8:00 tomorrow night. So yay me. Hopefully that'll be it tomorrow night. Gentleman's sweep would be nice. Yeah, listen, for a franchise that has been a laughing stock to be able to even be in a position to win this thing at home, I'm still like, pinch me. Is this real life? But also because this franchise has been a laughing stock for so long, I'm still thinking to myself, there's still so many ways to screw this up. So,
hey, there's always a chance, I guess. I don't know, but I think it's insurmountable at this point. I think you're in good shape, but positive vibes your way. Well, speaking of blowing it, Rory McIlroy, you know what? I don't even know how to segue into this. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with Bryson on the positive note and then talk about Rory? Nikki, what do you think?
No, you already started down that path. Let's just go. Let's just go there.
Oh, the ill-fated prince, Rory McIlroy. It's interesting because House of Dragon fans, season 2 kicked off last night, and spoiler alert, Nikki, did you watch that show?
I don't. I'm purposely waiting for it to get like 3 or 4 seasons in so that I don't have to wait 2 years in between each season for.
It was terrible.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Well, speaking in generalities, something very bad happens to a prince in the episode, which I thought was fitting since something very bad happened to our prince, Rory. 2 missed 3-footers. I think the total 6 feet in missed putts basically lost him this tournament. Did Rory lose this? This is a horrible question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Did Rory lose the U.S. Open or did Bryson win it? Nikki, let's start with you.
So I saw a stat yesterday that Justin Ray posted, which shout out to Justin Ray for always having like the most insane stats, being able to pull them. He posted and said that Rory was 496 of 496 inside 3 feet this season until yesterday, which is wild to me to miss those. And I mean, the first one, fine, because it was a wash because Bryson also missed that one. But the last one, I mean, he rushed it. Like he didn't take his time. He was rushing it, and it was like a sucker punch to the gut. Yeah. I mean, not that I wasn't excited for Bryson, but I think 2 things can be true. You can be excited for Bryson, but you can also be gutted for Rory. And I think there's a little bit of discourse online. You know, there's some people who think like if you were rooting for Rory, you were rooting against Bryson. And I don't think that's necessarily true. There may have been some people who were, but I think it was just heartbreaking to see. I know I posted this picture in our group chat, but this is what it felt like to me. It felt very Matt Ryan at the Super Bowl-esque. And Rory's starting to give me Matt Ryan vibes. Like, it's sort of. I mean, at least Rory already has some majors. Matt Ryan never got his ring. But, like, he's starting to give me Matt Ryan vibes in the, like, I'm always so sad for him. And I want to not be sad for him anymore.
Yeah, I feel you there. Dan, are you sad for Rory also? What were your thoughts watching that unfold?
Shades of Dustin Johnson at Chambers is the first thing that came to my mind. Also, listen, that Bryson bunker shot on 18 was amazing.
Yeah.
Think about how much more amazing and nerve-wracking it would have been had he needed to do that to stay alive in a playoff situation and not just to hang on to win. Like, think about that one for me. If Rory makes that putt, now all of a sudden that bunker shot he's got to get up and down to stay alive to even force a playoff, instead of, okay, I know that even if I can't get this up and down, I'll still backdoor my way into a playoff. It's a whole different mindset at that point, as far as what you're standing over in that bunker shot. Yeah, listen, truly gutting for Rory. Not to take it too far in this direction, but he was having some positives these last couple of days in his personal life, obviously, with the way things were going at home, and it seemed to be getting better. And what better kind of icing on the cake than to win this and finally get that monkey off the back for so many years now, and then he didn't. So I'm sure we'll talk about it more in a little bit. I can't say I blame him for practically doing donuts out of the parking lot afterwards and basically being on his plane before Bryson even sat down at the podium. Because what can you really say in that spot? I mean, think about if it were any of us, like, and we just did that, we would want to be as far away from that golf course as quickly as humanly possible. So it was gutting. I hate to say that it takes away from Bryson's win, because once again, at the end of the day, whether it was for the win or for a spot in a playoff, he still had to hit that bunker shot, that nearly impossible bunker shot. So I don't want to take anything away from Bryson's win there. But yeah, I mean, you feel like if Rory can make like a putt that's a gimme in most of our Saturday and Sunday games, he wins. He's got it. He's got another U.S. Open.
He's getting real shit for that online though. Like,
he is
for skipping out on, and I have some feelings about that, because I don't think, I mean, there's article headlines everywhere talking about how he's not a good sport, and he he should have stuck around and at least shaken hands with the guy. And, who's to say he didn't send him a text, say congrats, right. I know there's always people just think, oh, he hates Bryson. And I think that they have shown over the past however many weeks or months or so that they at least can get along with each other. And I think that Rory has shown to be a person who's at least above that to an extent, who would at least send a text. I don't know. We're never going to know. But I mean, Dan, to your point, I can't blame him for getting out of there. And also to all the people who are like, Rory's constantly said that, we're entertained. We are the entertainment. We're here to entertain the fans. Yeah. And that's what people were complaining about, was that he should have stuck around and answered the questions to continue entertaining the fans. No, he did his job. The people who bought a ticket to see him play in the U.S. Open. When he finished his round after 18, his job was done. That's what they paid the ticket to see. They didn't pay for a ticket to see him do a press conference. So most of the people who were doing the loudest complaining were actually the journalists who weren't going to get their interview, weren't going to get their money quote to put on the headline of their article. Write a different article, be a better writer, and figure out a better way to finish your article. That's my opinion.
Damn straight. Trevor, where are you at on this whole thing?
No, I would have gotten the hell out of there too. I've not wanted to talk to people after missing a 3-foot putt and, Saturday game, Can we just real quick, can we limit the Matt Ryan talk? I'm still bitter over what he did to my Hokies in 2007 on a Thursday night. So anytime I was there, it was cold, it was raining, I had to walk home, it was terrible. Anyway, sorry. And then Dan, to your point, when I felt like that was DJ at Chambers Bay also, but he did win a major next year, the following year, right, at Oakmont. So Rory keeps knocking on the door. I feel like he's too talented to not eventually break through. I think he should head over to Troon right now, take up residency, just play that course every single day until the Open in July. Bryson's bunker shot was an all-timer. The second shot he played was actually pretty good too. There's tree root there. There was any number of things that could have gone wrong. And considering everything, that was a pretty decent outcome, at least getting it up near the green. I mean, that thing could have come out sideways. But yeah, I was gutted for Rory. I mean, that is just so tough. And, to Nikki's point, I mean, he was so solid from that distance, as most tour pros are. It's just, I mean, what's going on inside that dude's head? I mean, he's getting divorced, not getting divorced, blows a U.S. Open. He was close last year at LA Country Club. He was close at St. Andrews. I mean, man, I don't blame him for peeling tires out of that parking lot one bit. And, that said, a lot of people have pointed out, John Van de Velde hung around after he famously destroyed his chances at the Open. It's tough, but either way, we're going to get a deserved winner. Bryson or Rory were the best golfers this week. So I think it's a little bit of both that, Rory blew it, but also, I mean, obviously Bryson earned it on the 18th. So hats off to him. And it was, whether it's a manufactured thing or he's got someone coaching him or it's an act, whatever, it was cool to see him running through the crowd and having everyone touch the trophy and all that kind of stuff. So it was a fun week regardless.
To that point too, Trevor, you raise a good one. To shift to Bryson a little bit, there was a lot of commentary on how he is now. And we all saw the now very, very cool viral Johnson Wagner shot after, where he went and he hit it to like foot.
Again, we'll get into Hokies mentioning.
But even in the moment, it was very candid. Bryson goes and meets him down in the bunker. He hits the shot. Everyone's jumping around, whatever. Then Johnson Wagner, I don't know if you guys caught this. He said to Bryson's face, he said, "Now you are a certain way." Like, he actually mentioned that. And I don't know if it was just kind of a slip, but it almost implied that, hey, I've been a fan of yours, but even now something has changed in you. So, Trevor, you mentioned, is Bryson being coached? I've noticed, and I know we've all talked about it in our group chat, he's shifted a little bit. He's more tolerable, I guess. If you didn't like him before, I know there are people that have liked him the entire time, but there is a noticeable shift, I would say, in his attitude. He wasn't signing the autographs for kids and directing them to an open area to make sure everyone got an autograph in the past. Over the last couple of years, I think he has. Did he?
Yes,
really?
he was actually. Yes. And that's something I was wanting to point out too, is that there's a lot of people talking about how much he's changed and how he's so different. And maybe in the sense of like, he doesn't quite run his mouth as much. Like, he doesn't make dumb comments like, "Oh, Augusta's a par," like he doesn't say like that kind of stuff. And I think Dan mentioned this on a couple episodes ago. He's maybe more tolerable because we only see him 4 times a year versus we see this goofiness every week. And it's a little more like in our face. But the kid stuff and like the interacting with the fans and being very like knowing who he is to his audience has always been there. Because when we went to the PGA Championship in 2021, we were there during a practice round on Wednesday, and we were there for the first tournament day on Thursday. And this is before the Brooks and Bryson beef started online. But he was still people were still just annoyed with him because of all of the comments and stuff he was making and everything. And I kind of had a distaste for him in my mouth too. And when we got there, the practice round was packed. I mean, there were kids everywhere just like shouting, "Bryson, Bryson, Bryson." And he stood there for a good 30 minutes signing making sure. He was like, hey, but did I get you? Did I get you? Okay. Yeah, you're good. He made sure every kid that was out there got something signed if they wanted. And I remember, because my husband was like, look at Bryson. And I remember going, I don't want to like that. I don't want like that. I love that he's doing that, but I wish it was someone else. Like, I wish it wasn't him. But that was in 2021. And that was, before the Brooks Bryson beef. That was before, all of this. So that part of him has always been there. We're just now seeing it in a different light because I think maybe we want to, or because the narrative of the like, well, he's a bad guy because he went to live, but now he's a good guy because he signs stuff for kids. Like,
right. It's an interesting dynamic. Yeah. And Dan, Nikki raises a really good point. It's the whole live dynamic. Like, did we jump the gun? I know you're on the Bryson train now.
Listen, so I was on Backspin Golf yesterday with our good friend Matthew Lawrence, and this conversation obviously got brought up because Bryson's the talk of the town these days for obvious reasons. This was even before he won yesterday. This was the point I made yesterday, and I think I'm even more in on it now. Say what you will about where the money has come from. Say what you will about LIV's ultimate goal as far as if they're trying to destroy professional golf as we know it. I think personally and professionally for Bryson DeChambeau as a human being, I think looking back now, going to LIV was an incredibly good decision for him. Not even financially. I mean, yes, he's now making so much more money, but I meant from a personal standpoint. And he's spoken about this before. I think we saw when he was on the PGA Tour, obviously he was not well liked amongst his fellow tour pros. And so that can be very isolating when you're out there. And even when you're sitting in the locker room, nobody likes you and nobody wants to talk to you. And I can imagine that's got to be tough on the psyche. And whether it's forced now because his teammates have to, because they're his teammates, or they genuinely like him, he has a built-in support group out on LIV. He has 3 guys that, whether they want to or not, have to be friends with him and have to support him every single week out there. Also, from what we understand, it would seem that the management group that day-to-day runs LIV seems to be all in on helping these guys where they need to be. There was a guy yesterday walking inside the ropes of Bryson with a 4 Aces hat on. Supposedly he's somebody on the Aces, but he also helped Bryson. So I think we have seen a human being who has found a group of people that genuinely enjoy being around him, and he's genuinely thriving and enjoying having people around him. And so, like I said, money aside and what LIV's ultimate goals aside, as a human being, I think we have to be happy for the fact that whether we agree with how he went about finding it, he has found happiness on the golf course in his life. And so I can't fault the guy for that, even if we do question sometimes, the validity of where the money is coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it possible that is Bryson the only LIV golfer that can kind of cross over? I mean, I thought when LIV first started, maybe Phil would be that guy. I don't know. I don't know. Whether it's manufactured or not, I still enjoy it. I mean, he walks around with a Sharpie in his pocket and he's signing autographs mid-round. I mean, that's whether he wants to or not, it's still cool to see. And like I said, running around with the trophy last night was cool. Hang out with Johnson Wagner afterwards was cool. So whether it's an act or not, it's entertaining. And obviously he's always been a different dude. And he's become the content king, I guess, of pro golf. And to your point, Adam, LIV kind of embraces that. They, more so than the PGA Tour, which is maybe the biggest redeeming quality of LIV. You kind of get more behind the scenes, you get more day-to-day kind of stuff from them. And it was a little cringy to hear Bryson having to mention his team and his YouTube guy and all that kind of stuff. I was kind of okay, that's a bit overkill there. But whether it's made up or not, I'm enjoying this version of Bryson. And Nikki, to your point, yeah, but my brother was out at Valhalla, and I guess this is the new Bryson now, but he still made time to go from side to side, and kids and idiot autograph adults, all the same. He was signing stuff for everybody and really took a ton of time to do that kind of stuff, from what I hear. So whether it's made up or not, I don't know. I find it hard to be upset about that. I mean, it's good for the game regardless, even if he is on the LIV Tour, which may not ultimately be good for the game.
Which may not ultimately matter anyway, because, we may be getting a framework agreement this week, but also I'll believe it when I see it,
Right.
Who knows when that'll happen? Are we going to get a framework agreement first, or are we going to get Reputation Taylor's version first? Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, allegedly we're supposed to get an announcement Tuesday on the framework at least. And yeah, I mean, at this point, as much as I hate to say it, the source of the money is going to be in both tours. If we are to believe, if what we are led to believe is true. So in that regard, I think it's a matter of, as golf fans and as four of us who report on golf, at least pro golf, that almost is kind of a secondary thing now, I guess. I mean, it's going to be there. Like we don't have a choice. It's either we accept, or at least are aware and just kind of push it to the side, or we don't talk about pro golf. And I think that's how a lot of these players are being seen now on either tour. It's like, yeah, the Saudi stuff, it's there. LPGA has been taking Saudi money for years, by the way, as we all know. And it's there, but it's also, you know what? It's very entertaining what we're seeing. If we just look at it as the golf itself, what we saw at Pinehurst, which I want to get your guys' thoughts on Pinehurst as a venue, because I thought it was phenomenal. That was one of the more entertaining majors that I've seen in quite some time. I mean, Nikki, what do you think?
Well, as far as the like Saudi money and being part of the PGA Tour and being part of the, like, if the framework agreement goes through, the money is going to be part of both tours. And how do we, if we, for those of us who are very vocal against where the money was coming from before, how do we kind of move forward with it? I guess my take on it is it's kind of like swimming at a kid's pool party. There's going to be pee in there. There's going to be pee in there. But it's 90 degrees outside. Do you get in the pool or do you not get in the pool? Like it's probably only going to be a little bit of pee. There's only like 6 kids in the pool compared to the amount of water in the pool, but do you get in the pool? That's the question for you to answer. So I don't know. That's my take on it. But as far as Pinehurst is considered and the course itself, I know we talked about this with Wells last week, or on last week's episode. But the course was extremely entertaining to watch. Way more than Valhalla, I'll say that. Arrests aside. But I think my favorite thing was the fact that like the opening hole just every day seemed to just annihilate everybody. I mean, it was just like bogey after bogey after, and then it just wasn't fair, but what was funny to me though, were the players that were missing the cut were commenting about how much they loved the course. I think Max Homa was like, it sucks to miss the cut, but this is now my favorite course I've ever played. And then later in the day he posted and he was like, I love watching after missing a cut and then just rooting for the course to, destroy everyone who whooped my ass, because obviously he's not out there, but, and those are his friends who are now playing, and he's obviously rooting for his friends and, for them to do well, but he's also kind of being like, if it whooped my ass, I kind of want it to like do some damage to you guys too. But when someone does make an amazing shot, like Molinari making a hole-in-one to make the cut on the number. Are you kidding me? Like, I know we're talking about Bryson's shot to win it, but that shot was unbelievable. I mean, that's
incredible.
That made history. I mean, it was the first time since 2003 that someone has done that, I think, or on the number. I don't know. It was wild.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of great golf on this course that obviously was very well known. And as you mentioned, we had Wells Adams on last week to talk about his experience being there. And he called it. He said it was going to give us all the different types of shots that you could possibly want. And, Dan, I think when we talk about major venues, Pinehurst is one of those anchor venues for the Open. Like, it's going to be back there in a few years. I forget exactly when, but it will be back. 2029. And so, Dan, is this something where, everyone's talking about old man par, but how did you feel watching these players just get eaten up, but others overcoming and just making incredible entertainment?
It was a proper US Open test. I mean, for the most part, obviously, you still want to see good shots get rewarded. We saw Rory yesterday get punished hitting good shots coming down the stretch. Those sometimes are tough to see, In the moment, obviously, it was fun because we were all swept up in the carnage and the craziness. But, looking back, obviously, you want to be rewarded for hitting good shots. But also, like, it's the U.S. Open for a reason. You have to hit good shots or you are going to shoot 30 over par. Like, that is what the U.S. Open is. That's what the U.S. Open is supposed to be. And Pinehurst gave us a proper U.S. Open test. And like Nikki said, I think it's a testament to these guys were getting their teeth kicked in for 4 straight. Well, if you missed the cut for 2 days, if you didn't for 4 straight days, and not a single person came out afterwards and said, the course was too tough. It wasn't fair. I didn't like this. That this isn't right. What are we doing here? They all came out and were like, yeah, this was a proper U.S. Open test. This was a difficult challenge. You have to hit the ball and hit it well and put it properly to be able to succeed. And so for professional golfers who have gotten more and more whiny and more entitled, I feel like as of late, ever since Liv came around, to see everyone basically be like, yeah, this course was amazing and I just didn't play well enough, or this course was amazing and I had to hit really good shots to put up a good number. That should tell you all you need to know about not just Pinehurst as a golf course, but where where it should rank as far as continuing to stay in that U.S. Open rota. That being said, I probably don't ever want to play it because I would probably shoot 500 over par and probably get annoyed and just stop at the turn because it would just be like, what am I even doing out here? But that being said, I am also not a professional golfer. So it looked really cool on TV. I love the burnt outness of it. It's always fun to see, once again, in this country where green is good, to just see a good old fashioned golf course that was baked out.
They were booing the greenskeepers.
Yeah, that was
Saturday
awesome.
and Sunday who were going out and that's like, not quite like waste management level, but like that's very funny. That's very funny.
Well, the one girl that was watering a green tweeted about it. She said it was the best thing that's ever happened to her in her life.
Was getting booed, yeah.
So can we talk about Neil Shipley though too? Like, talk about an amateur, this course being a test for the professionals, but like he's an amateur and like, he won the Low Am in Augusta, and we all remember the like viral moment, and he like to think that the best moment in your career is going to be, or playing with Tiger Woods on Sunday in Augusta, and then you go out and you finish the NCAA tournament. What was that? 2 weekends ago, I think.
Yep. And
you're playing in the U.S. Open, and he made more birdies on Saturday than Scheffler made the entire tournament, I think. I mean, he played unbelievably. I mean, yeah, he didn't win and he was still like over par, but he played incredible. And he had some just unbelievable shots out of the fairway. And he played so well. But Pinehurst is a course that allows both the pros and the amateurs to have that kind of play. So I don't know. Yeah. I'm becoming a big fan of Neil Shipley for sure.
Absolutely. It's the summer of Shipley for sure. I mean, this guy is just playing out of his mind. And by the way, speaking of proper setups, you can get yourself properly set up by going to truelinkswear.com and use code unfiltered15 to save a little bit of cash on not only their apparel, but also their outstanding golf shoes. They are our title sponsor here at Golf Unfiltered. Once again, it's truelinkswear.com, promo code unfiltered15. Well, folks, we are just a few minutes remaining on today's episode. We just wanted to hop on real quick to give us some immediate reaction to the U.S. Open. But I wanted to give each of us, since we're just huge fans of the man, of course, a couple words on our good friend Tiger. We had a good long, this lends itself to a longer conversation, of course. But Tiger played well, as we come to see. Score-wise, he didn't make the cut, but he wasn't DFL by any means. But he played well, I would gauge. I mean, maybe a C+ by his standards. But what did we think about Tiger Woods in his? Well, I don't want to say it because Nikki will punch me in the mouth. But I was going to say maybe one of his final U.S. Opens. But Nikki, we'll start with you. I know he's your guy.
You sure you want to start with me? Because you started a fight with me in our group chat this week about this. So are you sure you want to?
Go for it. Go for it.
Like my thumbs were like creating smoke on my screen from the text I was sending because you guys were starting fights about this. Could it have been his last U.S. Open? Maybe. maybe. I mean, he said that it might be. But do I also think that it is dumb the way that the US Open sets up their eligibility? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just across the board, if you win a major, you should get to play that major for as long as you want to. And maybe that's the Augusta purist in me, because that's the way Augusta does it, so everybody does it. That probably is why I think that. But the Open, there's not for life. It's until is it 60 or 65?
I think 60.
I think 60. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But still, 60 is that's pretty old, and I don't think, Tom Watson played in his last Masters when he was 66. Mm-hmm. And so majority of the people who are playing in these tournaments, once they're that age, they're not playing competitively anymore, though. They're playing just because for the respect of the tournament, for the love of the game, because they know who they are as a brand to the fans. And so they're not playing because, I think I'm going to win this one. I think I'm going to go out there and, make a top 10 and try and get some money. They're doing it out of respect for the tournament itself and the history. And, like you said, Augusta is a traditional tournament, which is why they allow you to play for your whole life if you want to. Which is why I think the US Open should, and I know they gave Tiger an exemption this year, but I think why not let Tiger's won a gajillion US Opens, and he's good for the game. He's good for drawing in a crowd. I mean, how many people were there? I remember seeing pictures of the practice rounds, the crowds at just the practice rounds for people. It's like just to get a touch of his cloak kind of moment, you know?
Yep.
And it's good for, even if he knows that he's not going to be playing competitively anymore, even if he knows that he isn't going to be trying to win anymore, let him play, because I think he is starting to. I think there's still a part of him that will always be Tiger Woods and will always be like, I think I could win this one. But I think he's starting to turn into a sense of he's very aware of, it's starting to turn a corner. He's aware of the brand that he is. He's aware of okay, I think I'm more of a teacher, a mentor, case in point, on Thursday, after he had played a not so great round, and when he came off, he played the he went to the range, he had put a few balls, he went over and watched Justin Thomas, who was visibly struggling, and offered him advice. Tiger Woods doesn't offer advice to other golfers, especially on a tournament day, maybe during, a practice round kind of day or something. And, yes, it's Justin Thomas, one of his best friends, but in tournament play, we would never see Tiger do that. But then after that, then he went over and gave autographs to fans. When was the last time we've seen Tiger do that in competition? It's been years since we've seen Tiger do that. So I think just let Grandpa play, I don't know. If he wants to. If he says his body's tired, then fine. But if he wants to, let him play. Why does he need to have to, have all these exemptions and all these whatever? But that goes for anybody who wants to play, who has won multiple or even one US Open. If Bryson's 65 and he wants to go out there and keep playing, let him play.
We're going to see him out there. I think it's 65 for sure. Trevor, I'll let you go next, and then Dan, you'll get the final word. Trevor, grading Tiger.
Well, I was actually encouraged a little bit because the dude just doesn't play golf anymore. And he was close enough to the cut line where it was interesting on Friday. I mean, so that's encouraging, but he's just broken down. I mean, it's not what he once was, but he's morphed. Talk about Bryson changing. Nikki, to your point, Tiger's changed so much, which is pretty cool to see. And I don't know, I'm always going to be a big Tiger guy. I think, I'm with you, Nikki. He should be able to play wherever he wants, whenever he wants. Dan, where's the local qualifying for the U.S. Open down in Florida? It'd be wild to see Tiger like at a U.S. Open
That would
qualifier
be
next
so
year.
dumb. That would be so dumb. Are you kidding me?
He's
They'd have
grinding out there.
to close the course off. They'd have to like, there else would be like 10,000 people would show up.
Could you imagine being like a guy from the Corn Ferry and finding out that like your playing partner for the day is Tiger Woods to like
that'd be wild.
U.S. Open qualify? Oh my God.
Dan, he might be they're voting this week apparently on getting him lifetime exemptions to the signature events. What do you think?
Yeah. Listen, I will say I think it was encouraging to me that he was genuinely annoyed at his performance this week. That tells me that in his mind, at least, he finally thinks that he is healthy again. And I use healthy in a relative term, healthy for him these days. Obviously, he's never going to be healthy like he was, in his prime. But the last couple of years, I think he was just genuinely happy to be out there and be able to play because of everything that happened to him. And this week, he seemed legitimately annoyed that he did not play better, which leads me to believe that he's feeling better. Which even if he never plays it, once again, even if he never tees it up again, he's still a relatively young man as a person, and he's still a father. And so if he is feeling healthy as a human being, that is always an encouraging sign, especially when we consider what he went through and what almost happened to him a couple years ago. Listen, Nikki said it for the majors. I think it applies for anything. I think if Tiger Woods wants to play in your golf tournament, he plays in your golf tournament. And I'm not saying you have to kick somebody else out to let him in, but you can find another spot on the tee sheet for Tiger Woods to play in your golf tournament, whether it's a signature event, a regular tour event, a Corn Ferry tour event, an Asian tour event, a major. I don't care. If Tiger Woods calls you up and says, I want to play this week, he plays this week. So, yeah. And I think he has earned that right until the day he decides he no longer wants to. And it doesn't really matter where or what the tournament is.
Well, you heard it from Team GU, folks. Let us know what your thoughts are as well. You could either send us an email, Adam at golfunfiltered.com or Nikki at golfunfiltered.com. Dan and Trevor, we got to get you set up. That just reminded me. You can also find us all over social media at Golf Unfiltered. You can let us know your thoughts on should Tiger just be allowed to play. I'm kind of on the fence, but I hear some good arguments from my colleagues here. But also as a reminder, go out.
Man.
I'm just a grumpy old man. I know. I am. As a reminder, go out and use that code unfiltered15 at truelinkswear.com. Go get you some new stuff. It's really good stuff too. On behalf of Nikki, on behalf of Dan, and on behalf of Trevor, go enjoy your week. Play well if you're out there on the golf course. We'll be back again next week very soon.